Knowing how to factor in your earnings and expenses as a designer is extremely important because you have to know at the end of the month, are you good with your balance, or are you in the black, or are you even down on money, and do you have to take additional job in order to support yourself and your family. In today's video, I'm going to show you a template which I'm using for years now, and you can simply copy and paste if you want and create it for yourself to track your earnings and your expenses. Hey designer, Alex here, welcome to the channel, and before we get started with today's video, make sure to check out my membership. Link is going to be down in the description below. Membership contains all of my courses, digital design products, private access to the Facebook group, practice files for these YouTube videos including this one, and if you're interested, link is going to be down in the description below. Now let's get started with today's video, and as I said, in this video we are going to use Adobe Xd to create this template which you can use and replicate. And if I jump to Adobe Xd, this is the starting file. This is 1920 by 1080 if I select it right here. And the whole point of this is just to help you separate your expenses from your earnings and to understand a little bit better as to how much money you are left with at the end of the month. You can use any kind of online tool. You can even use Word, you can use Google Sheets, you can use Microsoft Excel, whatever you want, but I'm using Adobe Xd because it's much simpler for me, because I'm using it every single day for my work, and I think you guys should do too because of its amazing features. Now, if we go back to Adobe Xd once again, as I said, 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to simply use a rectangle. I'm going to create a nice big rectangle like this, and let's give it some color. For example, something like this. I'm going to remove the border from it like so, and I'm going to call it, for example, text BG, or even better, month. Yeah, let's call it text BG, because it's just going to simply contain the text background, and inside of it what I'm going to write is January. I'm going to select my text, and I'm going to give it, for example, open sans like this, and I cannot even spell today, so let me zoom in a little bit. January like that, and let's give it 24 for example, just so it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to go with left align. I'm going to select these two, make sure the text is in the center, and I'm going to move it, for example, somewhere around here maybe. Just give it a little bit more space, because later on when you start entering more data and more information, it's going to be crucial for you to have this inside. So I'm going to group it, call it January, and I'm going to put this in another group, call it months, like this, and I'm going to put a stack on this group, put it like this, and I'm going to simply jump inside of here, Control D, Control D, Control D, and as you guessed, we have to have 12 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because we have 12 months in a year, obviously. And let's go and position this like so in the center. And of course you can go ahead and extend this artboard, and we are going to do in a second, but for now we are going to do this. So February, and I'm going to pause the video here and come back once this is finished. And now that that's finished, what we have to do is jump in right here, create another duplicate, and call it months like this, and I'm going to simply put it months like so. And now we have 13 of these, so we have months and we have 12 different months down below. Now the benefit of putting all of this in a stack is next. If you want to give them a bit more spacing, you can simply enter 20 and it's going to space them out evenly like this, but I think 10 is quite good enough. I'm going to position it in the center, and now what I'm going to do is simply put this in another stack, or I can simply duplicate them, so Control D, and make sure I am 10 like this. And what I'm going to do is move this down below to here, and I'm going to start with, for example, earning like this. And this can be I'll give you my example. This can be, for example, 99 designs for your earnings from 99 designs, and then you can create another one if you're working on Upwork as well. You can create another one if you're working on people per hour. You can create another one if you're working on Fiverr, for example, and then you're going to name all of these on top. And let's start with this one. So I'm going to call it 99 designs if you're working on 99 designs, and as we said, you can extend this box to whatever width you want, and I'm going to give it, for example, earning like this, and I'm going to call this text. Control C, and let's see, we can use tab, Control V, Control V, Control V, because this way is much more faster than to double click on all of it. Text, 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 text. And what I can do is simply jump inside of each of these like this, and I can hit 0 on my keyboard just to hide it like this. Because, for example, let's just say that today is I don't know, middle of January, let's say, and I just want to enter January because December is completed, or you get the point. So I'm just going to do one for here, and let's give it, for example, I don't know, $2,000, for example, like this. Now what I can do right here, because now this column is a little bit different than this column, what I can do is simply jump inside each of these and then give it a different color. So for example, maybe I can make it a tad bit darker like this, and I can go ahead and bring this color right here, and I can select this one, bring it right here. I can select my text and put it in a character style right here, and what I can do is jump back to here, and now all I have to do is simply select all of these. Let's see, I'm holding Control, and I'm going to simply jump inside and select these darker ones. I know this is time consuming, but key right here is you're going to do this just once, and then you're going to be able to do this much quicker later down the line. And what I can even do is jump inside of here and then simply make this a little bit darker, because it's going to separate this even more if that's something that you want. And for example, to separate it even better, what I can do is select this one and then select my text, jump in right here, make it white, and then put it right here. What this is going to allow me to do is simply visually divide months from all of these shops. And now that I have all of that completed, what I can do is simply put this in a group like this, call it earnings, like so. And then I can duplicate this one by putting it in a stack like this, hit Control D, and as you can see, it's going to be quite simple. So what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you have, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 different ones, you can simply hit Control D, Control D, Control D, however many times you need. But for this example, let's just keep it at 2, and let's call it, for example, I don't know, Upwork. And let's give it right here, let's say 1,500. Now what's great about this is, as I said, you can make it and replicate it however many times you want. You can change these colors, you can put them in different groups, you can increase the spacing between different boxes, you can change the text, you can update it globally because of Adobe Xd. So as I said, Adobe Xd is the awesome tool to do this, because you're using it every single day regardless. If you're using Figma, if you're using Sketch, you can do these things, but I really love Adobe Xd because of its versatility. Now to go back to here, and what we need now are the expenses, because these were the earnings and now we have to create expenses. So what I'm going to do is simply select this one, Control C, Control V right here, and I'm going to make sure it's at 10 like so, and I'm going to simply call it expenses. Now these expenses, let's put it right here, so expenses, and I need to add S right here like so, so earnings. For these expenses, it's going to be a little bit different, so I'm going to put a red color right here. For example, something nice like this. I don't want it to be too bright. I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to call it electricity. for example, and we're going to give it, for example, I don't know, 200, like so. And once again, you can change all of these columns if you want to. So for each of these electricities, you can put it, for example, to be red or to be, I don't know, blue or whatever you want. And now I'm going to put these in a group. So I'm going to copy this, hit Control G, Control V, make sure I'm in a stack and make sure I'm using this stack. So I'm going to hit Control D, Control D, Control D, and I'm going to give this phone, for example, and let's call it 150. This can be internet. And let's give it, I don't know, this is just random 80. You can, of course, use whatever one you want. And let's call it, I don't know, for example, rent. And this can be 500. Obviously, you're going to enter your own values for your own market. You don't have to use USD. You can use Euro. You can use your local currency, whatever you want. And finally, what we need is 2 more columns. So I'm going to use this one. So Control C, like this, and position it to be 10. And I'm going to do a duplicate of it like this. So for this column, what we need is a total. So I'm going to call it total, like this, and I'm going to give it a blue color. Let's jump inside of here and let's select blue and let's put it like this. I'm going to jump inside of here and move it right here. I'm going to call this total, like this, call this total as well, and move it all the way down to here. And I'm going to move all this down to here. What this is going to give us is, I don't know how can we call this, but this is basically what's end up at the end of the month. So total is however many you earn, for example, and then this last column, I still don't know how to call it because my template I'm using is quite a bit different, because I'm selling digital design products on, I think, 15 different shops. Then I'm selling courses on 12 or 13 different shops, plus my own shops for both of these. I also have YouTube revenue, which is just starting out rolling in, and I have multiple revenue streams outside of those. So I have affiliate marketing, I have client work, I have many different ones. So these columns, I think I have something like 80 columns or something crazy like that. So it's really complex for my, but in this case, let's see, for example, actually, you know what, not to complicate things anymore, what I'm going to do is actually remove this last one. So I'm going to remove it, and instead of total being blue, I'm going to give it, yeah, actually let's keep it blue, and I'm going to remove this green color. And total is basically what you can do in this case is you can select earnings, so 3,500 in this case, and then subtract that from all of your expenses, and what's left is your total basically. I think that's much more feasible than to expand these. As you can see, I can stretch these columns if I want to, so they are quite versatile. So what I'm going to do is select these, put them in the center like this, and once again, you can get this template if you join my membership, alongside all of the courses, design products, private access to the Facebook group, and much more, including all of these project files for these YouTube videos. So there you have it. What I really recommend you to do is just be honest with your expenses, just be honest with your earnings, make sure to track every single thing. Once again, if you go back to here, what I have is just 4 of these expenses, so electricity, phone, internet, rent. Of course, you can enter as many ones as you want. Just make sure to be honest, make sure to track your expenses, make sure to track your earnings. That way, you're going to be able to know not just how much money you are left with every single month, but if you need to charge more. If you do need to charge more, you can simply glance at this file and say, okay, I think I need something like $2,000 more each month. So therefore, you're going to increase your revenue by raising your prices. You're going to take on much more complex projects. You're going to take on different clients, and you're basically going to be able to look at your business much more clearly. One final thing we need to do is this. So if I take you back to here, what we have right here are these separate folders. But if I, for example, duplicate this one, what you're going to see is it's going to overlap basically across of these. So we don't want that. We know it's 10 for the spacing. So I'm going to ungroup all of these, and then I'm going to put them in a single group, and you can do it with this one as well if you want to. So we can put it like this in a group, and we can call it earnings and expenses, like so. And I'm going to put them in a stack like this. Now you can see it's at 10, so it's great. And for example, if I now duplicate this one, for example, you want to add additional earnings like I mentioned before, what you can do is simply select it, hit Ctrl D, and as you can see, it's going to move all of these to the right. What you can do in that case is you can simply select your artboard, extend it to the right if you want to, and of course, if you want to add additional things right here, then you can as well. I'm going to go back, and one last thing I didn't mention is total for a year. What you can do in this case is simply drag a rectangle like so down at the bottom, and then you can select both of them. You can position them right here, for example, and I'm going to move this down right here, and we're going to call this total like this, and let's try to put it right here. No, it's not going to do the trick, because as you can see, it's going to move out of the way. Let me try to put it in a group. No, it doesn't work. So I'm going to go back, Ctrl Z, total, move it outside. And what I can do is Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. So basically I'm going to put this in a group like so. So Ctrl G, and then simply you can extend this rectangle however you want. And that's going to be your basically yearly total. So yearly total is you can simply enter a value down. For example, this is 2021. You can enter total 2021 and combine all of the totals from your previous month, and then you can enter it there. Then what you can do is you can say total earnings, that number, total expenses, that number, left over that number, and that way you're going to be able to determine much better as to how much money you are actually spending and how much money you're actually leaving on the table. Thank you for watching today's video. I really hope you found some value in it. If you did, make sure to press that like button. I upload new videos every single week right here on the channel about Adobe Xd, design, passive income techniques, and much more. So if you're interested in content like that, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.